and other conditions. We use the traditions of centuries-old natural science from India, yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy in personalized programs that help you take charge of your own health. A minimum 5-day stay is recommended for best results. Book now at WION.com.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
Catch me on Token Money Magnet as we yield the power of tokenization only on WION.
This is World of Africa on WION World as One. Thank you for joining us and welcome to the show. I'm Eric Njoka. This week, some countries have expressed their displeasure with US President Donald Trump and his Department of Government Efficiency over plans to stop consular services or close embassies in an effort to slash federal funding. We tell you which countries have been affected and what this means. The show starts now. The Trump administration is looking at closing nearly 30 overseas embassies and consulates as it eyes significant changes to its diplomatic presence abroad, and that's according to an internal State Department document. The document also recommends reducing the footprint of the U.S. diplomatic missions in Somalia and Iraq, two countries that have been key to U.S. counterterrorism efforts, and resizing other diplomatic outposts. At least 8 countries in Africa will be affected by this move. Here is our cover report. The proposed changes come amid a broader expected overhaul of the US's diplomatic agency as the Trump administration, spurred by the Elon Musk-backed Department of Government Efficiency, made a dramatic effort to shrink the federal government. It is unclear whether Secretary of State Marco Rubio has signed off on the proposed closures. The Trump administration plans to eliminate most of the State Department's Africa operations as part of a sweeping overhaul of the agency. The New York Times reported, citing a draft executive order that could be signed as early as this week. According to an internal State Department document, the proposed closures include embassies in Lesotho, Eritrea, the Central African Republic, the Republic of Congo, the Gambia, and South Sudan. Additionally, consulates in Durban, South Africa, and Douala, Cameroon are slated for closure, with their responsibilities potentially being transferred to neighboring countries. Embassies and consulates serve as an important outpost for the State Department. They provide services like visa processing and assistance for American citizens in need. The posts also collect information to send back to Washington, D.C., and officials say they are an important diplomatic tool as the U.S. looks to counter nations like China. Most consulates do not have a large workforce. This initiative is part of a broader plan to cut the State Department's budget by nearly 50%, aiming to reduce foreign aid by approximately 75%. Critics of the proposal expressed concerns that reducing the US diplomatic footprint in Africa could diminish American influence on the continent, especially as other global powers such as China continue to expand their presence. They argue that such closures could hinder diplomatic relations, economic partnerships, and the promotion of democratic values. The memo also suggests either significantly downsizing or eliminating the US embassy presence in Mogadishu, Somalia, and closing the Baghdad Diplomatic Support Center in Iraq, while reducing costs at the diplomatic posts in Baghdad and Erbil, Iraq. If enacted, the proposed cuts would mean that the United States would fall farther behind China's presence in Africa and East Asia, where Chinese missions currently outnumber American ones. Africa Bureau, WION, World is One. As Côte d'Ivoire, or Ivory Coast, approaches its presidential election in 7 months, the country's Catholic bishops have expressed deep concern about the current socio-political climate. Calls for peace and national cohesion are the new chorus as campaigns for the October polls begin. Here's a report.
The anticipation in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, is fever pitch. Anxiety is growing among Ivorians, even though the elections is 7 months away. Dozens of opposition parties in Ivory Coast have formed an alliance ahead of the country's presidential poll due to take place in October. The Coalition for a Peaceful Alternations is hoping to push demands for electoral reform and impose a balance of power on the ruling party. But one major party is missing from the new coalition, that of former President Laurent Gbagbo. With the opposition in 3 blocks, there's a risk of votes being divided among them, which could benefit the ruling party, unless the new coalition manages to rally support behind its ranks. Ivory Coast's main opposition nominated businessman Tidjane Thiam as its candidate for a presidential elections expected in October. Currently, out of the West African country, the former Aviva and Credit Suisse executive is the only contender for the center-right Democratic Party. Tensions are already high 6 months from the scheduled polling date, with prominent figures including former President Laurent Gbagbo barred from standing. In a turbulent start to the pre-election period, Thiam has had to fend off a row over his nationality. Opponents said his acquired French citizenship disqualified him.
Tidjane Thiam is hereby declared elected as the PDCI-RDA candidate for the presidential elections of October 2025.
One of the worst post-electoral crises in Ivory Coast was recorded between 2010 and 2011. Supporters of incumbent President Laurent Gbagbo and challenger Alassane Ouattara clashed over disputed election outcomes, resulting in the deaths of at least 3,000 people and the displacement of tens of thousands of Ivorians. Gbagbo himself was arrested in April 2011 and transferred to The Hague in November that year after the deadly violence caused by his refusal to accept defeat by Alassane Ouattara. He was accused of crimes against humanity. Fast forward to the 2020 presidential elections and the threat of violence loomed large once again. President Alassane Ouattara's controversial bid for a 3rd term deemed unconstitutional by the opposition ignited widespread unrest. The opposition's call for civil disobedience and a boycott of the election led to violent clashes between supporters of different political factions. Several political figures have already signaled their desire to run for the October presidential election. Former President Laurent Gbagbo has been nominated by the African People's Party, Côte d'Ivoire, but his eligibility is still questionable due to a court conviction. His ex-wife, Simone Gbagbo, has also announced her candidacy. The most controversial candidacy, however, may come from the President Ouattara himself. Having been in power since 2011, he had promised to hand over power to a new generation in 2020. The president indicated his interest in a 4th mandate. The bishops are hoping for a free, fair and transparent elections that will truly make 2025 a jubilee year. African Bureau, WION World is One.
In Somalia, the people of Mogadishu are preparing to vote as they flocked in large numbers to register for the electoral roll. This enthusiasm is understandable, as it has been nearly 56 years since they last exercised their civic duty due to the ongoing conflicts that have plagued the country. Somalia is set to hold a presidential election in 2026.
Spots like this were very rare in Mogadishu, the capital of Somalia. One by one, people could be seen streaming into the center, and their details would be marked and fingerprints would be registered. That's because Somalia is due to hold local elections in June using the one-person, one-vote model ahead of presidential polls that have been scheduled for 2026. The election plan was first unveiled in 2023, but initially ran into problems, with leading Somali politicians saying it lacked the full support of all federal states, particularly the semi-autonomous state of Puntland. The cabinet eventually approved it last year.
I am one of the people who arrived early this morning here at the Shangani district to get a voter registration card. I have never seen such a one-person, one-vote model, and I hope to be one of the candidates in the coming elections.
I was here under the heat of the sun for the whole day because I would love to see a one-person, one-vote election being held in my country. Victory for Shangani district.
The voter registration is a step towards universal suffrage ahead of presidential election scheduled for 2026 in the volatile nation. The East African country is struggling to emerge from decades of conflict and chaos, battling a bloody Islamist insurgency and frequent natural disasters.
I came here at 7 a.m. because it's the first voter registration held in more than 50 years. As a young man, I am very pleased to witness this great event.
The Commission said the decision was made in response to the slow pace of registrations and formal associations' requests to finalize the necessary documentation. The extension comes as the Commission continues registering voters in Mogadishu, where thousands have already received voter cards since the process began last week. Registration is currently underway in multiple districts of the capital. However, the reforms have drawn sharp criticism from opposition leaders and officials in Puntland and Jubaland, who argue that the central government is moving unilaterally without sufficient political consensus or institutional readiness. President Hassan Sheikh Mohammed pledged last year to end the complex clan-based indirect voting system that had been in place since 1969, when the dictator Siad Barre seized power. Since Barre's fall in 1991, Somalia's political system has revolved around a clan-based structure. In 2023, the semi-autonomous state of Puntland held local polls by direct ballot, but dropped plans to use the system again for local and regional leadership elections early last year. Direct voting has also been held in neighboring Somaliland, which declared independence in 1991, but has never been recognized internationally. Africa Bureau, WION World is One.
Madagascar's centuries-old bare-knuckle combat sport Moraingi is punching above its weight in the capital as fighters and fans gather to celebrate a martial art once reserved for warriors and rural communities. Most of them hope that the tour to the island by French President Emmanuel Macron will boost the sport.
From the onset, it might look like a normal boxing or wrestling match. But in Madagascar's capital, this is a different sport altogether. Madagascar's traditional combat sport Moraingi is gaining attention as efforts increase to revive and professionalize this indigenous martial art. Moraingi, dating back to the 17th century, originated on Madagascar's west coast as war training and an initiation rite. Now, mainly practiced in the north and northwest, the sport features barefoot fighters with fabric-wrapped hands. It has no written rules, allows almost any move, and fights end based on audience reaction. Coaches and organizers are working to showcase Morangi to a wider audience, aiming to elevate it to national sport status. They emphasize its ancestral tradition of respect and humility.
You should never underestimate an opponent. Everyone is different. Everyone has prepared. I made the effort to beat him using the quickest techniques and methods.
I'm interested to see what's being done, what Morangi will be like in 2025, because there are young people from the north of Madagascar here. They told me that there is Morangi Vatsa, which is fighting without kicks, and there is Morangi with kicks. That's why I'm here. It interests me.
Beset by climate change and partly destroyed by cyclones, and still recovering from a recent political dent, the Indian Ocean archipelago is on the road to transformation. When France's President Emmanuel Macron embarked on a 5-day trip to Madagascar and Mauritius, as well as other French territories in the Indian Ocean, he focused on France's strategy in the Indian Ocean and of building a common future. Madagascar is hoping to leverage on the tour and enhance its image in the world arena by showcasing its culture and some of its traditional practices, like the Morangi, which have commonly been shunned.
We aim to make Morangi known throughout Madagascar at national level with this kind of event, because if it isn't, it will always remain a traditional rural sport where minorities will really enjoy it, whereas there is a national public that will be able to enjoy it, and I think Morangi will be able to go further. It has real potential.
Organizers like Jeffrey hope to establish official regulations and create a national federation addressing fighter safety and medical support concerns. Africa Bureau, WION World is One.
In the heart of Algiers, chefs from around the world have traded suits for aprons at the Culinary Art Festival, where food became a powerful tool for cultural exchange. This vibrant event turned the kitchen into a diplomatic arena with tradition, flavor, and creativity taking center stage. Watch.
Integrating the cultures of participating countries with each other and getting to know their dishes and heritage spontaneously and live. We taste and get to know the points of agreement between them.
Our goal was that we, as contestants and judges, had visited several countries with the Algerian dish, and today we wanted the dishes and judges to be the ones visiting us to promote our culture and the ancient, rich, and healthy Algerian dishes.
We wanted to exchange experiences between Syrian and Algerian cuisines and to introduce Algerians to Syrian cooking and share our knowledge together.
Nigerian autistic artist Kanye Tagbo Okeke has carved out a global niche for himself with his art winning the Guinness World Record for the largest artwork on canvas by an individual. This art. Take a look.
Kanya Chukwuvu Tagbo Okeke has carved out a global niche for himself with his art. The 15-year-old Kanye, who is non-verbal, unveiled his 12,303 square meter art canvas titled Impossibility is a Myth on World Autism Day in Abuja. Kanye's art, a giant canvas adorned with various faces expressing a wide range of emotions, symbolizes autism awareness, acceptance, and neurodiversity.
If you look at the painting, you see the infinity sign. That's autism, neurodiversity. So he's autistic, so that sign means awareness, acceptance, and then neurodiversity. And then if you see around, you see the faces, you see the sad faces, the smiley, the crying and all that. And when Kanye was growing up, if you look at all his previous paintings, some of his previous paintings, if you go back in history, you see all those smiley faces, and that's what he has represented here.
His work has paid off. He won the Guinness World Record for the largest artwork on canvas by an individual. The World Health Organization 2024 reports that autism spectrum disorder, a broad range of conditions related to brain development, affects about 1 in 100 children worldwide. While characteristics may be detected in early childhood, it is often not diagnosed until much later. In Nigeria, experts say stigma, negative cultural practices, and inadequate healthcare facilities make increased autism awareness necessary. The Shades of Life Foundation, a non-governmental organization that caters to the need of children and families with autism, early this month held the 4th annual Ride for Autism event with about 200 cyclists from 4 cycling groups in Lagos. The event aimed at breaking down the barriers of acceptance and stigma surrounding ASD. This year is their 4th edition.
A lot of people have a misconception of what autism is. They always, when they hear autism, they think either spiritual or psychiatric condition or just bad parenting, or they try to have a physical attribute that they can hold on to. But you see, autism is invisible. If I showed you my daughter today who's autistic, you wouldn't know that she's on the spectrum, and that's because autism has no visible features.
At 8 years old, Kanye became the youngest recipient of the Flame of Peace Award in Austria for spreading peace through his art. In 2019, he had a solo exhibition at the Terra Culture Art Gallery, also titled Impossibility is a Myth. One of his paintings was featured on the cover page of the Art Vancouver catalogue in 2022 as well. Imad Salehi, the previous record holder for largest art canvas, had a canvas that measured 9,652 square meters. The canvas Kanye painted on was 12,303.87 square meters. Africa Bureau, WION World is One.
And that's what's going on in Africa this week. Find us on all our social media platforms. Talk to us there. Your stories always matter to us. We will tell it to the world. Thank you for watching World of Africa on WION World is One. I'm Eric Njoka. I will see you on the next episode. Goodbye.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
WION Health Resort is unique, the only one of its kind. Experience the 4 paths of natural wellness: yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy. Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person to make every person whole. Come to WION Health Resort. Make your reservation at wion.com.
Imagine a world where owning your dream asset is just a click away, where wealth is no longer exclusive to the few. Tokenization, the game changer, transforming assets into digital opportunities. A revolutionary technology opening doors to a new era of investment. Don't miss Token Money Magnet, a bold initiative by Kalp Foundation. Only on WION World is One.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
WION, India's global voice. The channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and